Hi everyone. Before I go on to talk about dialysis, I just wanted to make a really quick video and go over the major manifestations again. I'm not going to go through them all. I just want to go through because there's a couple I think we need to just highlight. This, in terms of this slide, we have talked about every single one of these things a lot. Other than this last one. So I just wanted to mention that the kidneys are responsible for the excretion of a lot of different medications. And so even some over-the-counter medications need to be used with caution when somebody suffers from chronic kidney disease. I think I talked in another video about my son and how he only has one kidney, and how we have to be very careful about which meds we give him. And that has to do with this. We want to keep that kidney as healthy as possible. And so, for example, NSAIDs, it doesn't use NSAIDs because they are nephrotoxic. And so I just wanted to highlight that before we go on. And then I'm going to check some of these other slides and see if we've missed anything else. Okay, anemia. So we talked about how the kidney is responsible for the hormone erythropoietin, and how erythropoietin is responsible for stimulating red blood cell creation or whatever in the bone marrow. So when the kidneys are not working, that erythropoietin is low. A lot of people with chronic kidney disease will have low hemoglobin or low red blood cells, and we call that anemia, right? And so knowing the signs and symptoms from anemia are important. You may have a question that talks about, what do you expect to see in a patient with chronic kidney disease? And it might have a symptom that's related to anemia, not necessarily kidneys. And so you just need to be able to connect those things, okay? So anemia, when someone is anemic, they're often very, very, let me read this. I shouldn't just tell you what I think. So decrease in blood viscosity, that's because red blood cells only make up a certain portion of the blood. And they are big, and they are part of what makes the blood thicker. So your hematocrit you will actually have thinner blood, but that's not thinner blood in terms of platelets or in coagulation. Well, you might, but that's not because of anemia. Okay. I wouldn't worry about knowing that. Cardiac output increase. So if you have less blood or less red blood cells in the blood, that's less oxygen that's getting to all of your fingers and toes and the rest of your body. And so your heart is going to pump faster to try to get more of that oxygenated blood to your body. So you're going to have an increased heart rate. But you will also have increased cardiac output, which means the muscle will contract more and shoot more blood out at a time. So decrease in myocardial O2, that's because your oxygen is going, it increases the workload of the heart, and your oxygen is going out to the rest of the body. Angina and C events, all of the same thing, right? So it's really important to understand with anemia, it's very, very taxing on the heart if you are chronically anemic and you have very low hemoglobin, okay? Cardiac disease, we've talked about hypertension, right? And the reason for that, because of the fluid volume excess. We've talked about heart disease and pulmonary edema. We've talked about congestion, congestive heart failure, just too much fluid, right? Did we talk about pericarditis? I thought we did in another video, the pericardial friction rub. I'm pretty sure I went over that. If not, shoot me an email and I can put something together. So GI effects, anorexia, nausea, and vomiting are the major effects in terms of for kidney disease. So this protein. So it does talk about restricting protein. This is not eliminating protein though from the diet, okay? It's like I said before, it's a very balanced game, right? trying to see if there's anything here that's like really important, potentially related to, yes, ammonia, we talked about that. So neuropathy, this has to do mostly with electrolyte alterations. So you might have some sensory function, some demyelination of nerve fibers. Don't worry about what all of that means if you haven't taken that yet. It's just basically, you might have like pins and needles, the feeling of pins and needles, restless leg syndrome, leg cramps, all of the stuff we talked about with our electrolytes already. Yeah, so let's see what else we talk about here. So inflammatory process effect, but a lot of this is really, really detailed. And again, I'm not sure that it's something you need to really, really go into. Just try to remember that it can have a chronic kidney disease can have an effect on your immune system, and it can decrease your body's ability to fight infection. If you just remember that, don't worry about the patho behind it. Just kind of remember that. If you see a question, you're good to go. We've talked about the skin. In terms of sexual dysfunction, a lot of that is results of medication. A lot of it is psychological. Young, like women who are still getting their periods may experience amenorrhea when they're on dialysis. Again, amenorrhea. So A means no, and this is talking about your period. So no period. Okay, or menses is what it technically is. I'm not being very professional. And again, I just wanted to really quickly go over these stages, because it's really important to recognize it has a lot to do with the GFR. Okay, it's as the GFR gets lower, the stage gets higher, and then our action in chronic kidney disease is based on where you are, which stage you are at. Okay, so stage 1, we just want to reduce the risk. By the time you get down to stage 5, you're likely on dialysis or renal replacement therapy until you get a transplant. Okay, so I just wanted to, your body can survive until approximately 90% of the nephrons are lost. And like I said before, you can actually pass through the early stages of CKD without even having any symptoms, right? Because you're only going to start having symptoms once about 50% of your kidney function is gone. Okay, and so since we've mentioned renal replacement therapy, I'm going to move on to dialysis. And if you have any questions about this video, just shoot me a text.